with another 10,000 killings in the Northeast. So the question is international, are they with us or against us? It seems that whenever we are succeeding, they are not happy.
Absolutely.
That is my own opinion. Whenever we are succeeding, they always want to find one way or the other to deny, because they know when they accuse us of human rights abuses, most international organizations will not want, countries will not want to
sell arms.
And that's why I mentioned the first time.
It's about arms.
We're having issues getting weapons because we're
welcome,
denying
guys.
equipment. So for me, a friend in need is a friend indeed. If my friend turns his back against me when I need
these foreign NGOs are something
else.
That's
very critical, and that's one thing in Africa we must understand. And that's what I'm saying, that we must produce what we need. If we don't, we will continue to suffer.
Absolutely.
And finally, negative influence of the media.
And this is very important.
Is very critical to the success, otherwise, of the numerous operations that are conducted by the armed forces of Nigeria. Otherwise, very critical to the success, otherwise, of the numerous operations that are conducted by the armed forces of Nigeria. We just finished the African military games. Public perception is very critical to the success, otherwise.
Thank you so much, guys.
We'll continue to suffer.
Ooh, how do I create this down?
Million Nigerians are all criminals. Very few individuals, very few Nigerians that are giving us very bad names. But these things have been amplified as if all the 200 million Nigerians are all criminals. Meanwhile, they're just a minute number. If you look at the Nigerians that are doing so well all over the world, you can't compare, but nobody talks about them.
They don't care.
Everybody's looking at the negative aspect. Nobody's looking at the positives.
Yeah.
But like I said, if we don't sing our song, nobody else will do it. So we must be able to sing. And for Africa, it goes for everybody. Once you go as an African, everybody really looks at you and thinks you are just a thief or a criminal or something. So it's very important for us to sing our own song. Very critical.
We must sing our own song.
The public opinion is shaped by a lot of dynamics, of which is the media. At times, the media priority is quickly getting the news out rather than ensuring the credibility of news that is being conveyed. Very true. The media has done so well. You can't even succeed in asymmetric warfare without the media, and they've done this remarkably well. But again, we need to also look at how do we report? What do we report? How do we say it? Like somebody said, if you told somebody he's stupid,
yeah, he'll start believing it.
He gets angry. But if you tell him, I don't expect this from you, you are still telling him he's stupid, but in a milder way. Somebody say our press are quick at once there's something happens. Say it.
Yeah, this part.
3 weeks ago, we had an encounter of Boko Haram. We killed over milder way. Somebody say our press are quick at once there's something happens.
Thank you so much, guys. Those of you joining,
3 weeks ago, we had an encounter of Boko Haram. We killed over 20 of them. Got over 50 motorcycles.
Vampire, what's up?
But let one soldier be killed or when something happens, everybody is taking it as if. So what is the intent? You want to demoralize your own troops? Because if your troops are not happy to perform, you can't even go to your office to even work.
Yeah, absolutely.
People tend to forget that quite easily. And that's very critical. So negative news items which promote the superiority of the terrorists against the government are capable of making the public to lose confidence in the ability of the government to protect.
Thank you for the likes.
And once the troops are out there, they are out there whether it is sun, rain, whatever it is, and the man feels unappreciated, he could just say, okay, to hell with everybody. And if he does that, who will stay? Everybody becomes a victim.
Yeah, it's very important for us to lift the morale of the troops because this so this whole idea of like negative comments, you know, every time it's this, they are not doing enough. These guys are losing their lives every day on the front line. The Nigerian soldiers are doing the best they can. And then you have one report from Amnesty International, one other report from this and that. So, you know, during the course of this interaction that happened in Qatar, I think towards the beginning of the year or thereabout, he was talking about the fact that these NGOs, anytime the Nigerian army starts succeeding and pushing back the rebels, what they do is that they come up and say, oh, we're going after this, we're violating human rights. Well, these are the same NGOs and the same people that are, and you see that the United States of America imposed on us through the Leahy Law Act, meaning that the blanket ban on sales of arms to the Nigerian government, while the militants are getting weapons and attacking the soldiers. This doesn't help, it's demoralizing. And this whole idea of human rights violation against terrorists is insane. These same NGOs are the ones carrying food and weapons and whatever and supplying to them. When you speak of NGOs, and this is one of the tools that the West are using and people don't understand. They create some sense of credibility for them because they are free and at liberty to criticize their own government. So people think that these NGOs are credible. They are not. The NGOs are bleeding Nigeria. The NGOs are one of the major problems affecting us as a country. And we saw recently with the emergence of Trump as president, it was clear that USAID was actually funding, aiding and abetting terrorism in Nigeria and around the Lake Chad area. So we need to point some of these things out. This whole idea of, the Nigerian government did not do this. Oh, there's genocide against Christians. And if you look at the history of the role of the West in the Sahel of Africa, I told a story before about the role of France and America during the war in Afghanistan. What happened? They came to the Sahel of Africa and recruited thousands of African people, young men that were taken to Afghanistan to fight against the Soviet Union in the 80s. And some of them are now there, whether it's their sons and their proteges are the ones heading very radical organizations today in the Sahel. Mujao is one of them. Jenim is one of them. Al-Moghadammoun is one of them. Islamic State in the Greater Sahara. And even if you look at a group like Boko Haram, I'm going to do a quick video, course on the history of Boko Haram, the emergence of Boko Haram, and probably go to the Northeast and do a comprehensive documentary that I'll post on my Patreon. So for those of you that want to see this video, all you have to do is to go to my Patreon. The link is on my bio, and you can subscribe for $5 a month. As a way to support the channel. It's right there. You can take a look at it. And other videos that I'll also be posting during my travels around Nigeria, visiting some of these communities as well that have been affected. So yeah, so for those of you that are interested, I'd love to move around. One other area that this is happening is Plateau State, but what is happening in Plateau is somewhat different compared to what the situation we have in places like Borno, Adamawa, particularly the Northeast, because this is in proximity to Lake Chad. The Lake Chad area is an economic hub. The Lake Chad area have abundance of rare earth minerals. And gallium, things like rare earth minerals for defense industry, rare earth minerals, that is essential for Western tech and so on and so forth, is in the Lake Chad area. So it's not a surprise to me that we are facing the same situation. If it is not the Boko Haram and terrorism in Nigeria, if you go to Congo, it's the rebels. If you go to Central Africa, it is the what do you call them? It's the Seleka against the Anti-Balaka. If you go to Chad, it's the same thing. So who on earth is encouraging this and funneling arms into Africa for us to bleed each other for their own benefit? These are some of the questions we need to ask each other. So just coming out and blatantly accusing the Nigerian government. So like I said, during a military forum, a political military forum in Qatar, the Chief of Defense Staff stated clearly, the NGOs clearly refusing oversight function. These guys come to the Northeast and they say they are neutral, and they go to the communities where these terrorists are living and take trucks there that they are giving them food and aid, that they are neutral. This doesn't make sense, and the international media will never talk about this. The Washington Post, the New York Times, because all of them are in bed with each other. They are in cahoots. Because if you look at the structure of capitalism and what is going on in the West, you have the political elites that are in bed with the capitalists, that have economic interests, and these capital elites are the owners of giant multinationals that are not even, in sort of any allegiance to any state. They are transnational. Look at asset management firms like BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street. They own most of the giant, big corporations around the world, including in media and in tech and everything. So these guys are more powerful than the state. So basically, if a president is in power, what these guys do is that, they corrupt the president, or the president, in any sense, will be doing the bidding of these guys. If you look at people like Larry Ellison, people like Elon Musk, all these guys push the leaders around. So when the government tell you they are deploying the coercive apparatus of the states outside the shores of the country because of the national interest of America, what they are telling you is not protecting the national interest of America. It is the interest of the leaders. So when they say national interest, it's about the interest of the leaders. It has nothing to do with the interest of American citizens. These guys don't really care about American citizens. It's about their own interest. And we are seeing exactly the same thing with Venezuela. So when we speak on topics like this, it's essential for us to, for especially those on the outside, to pay attention, because it's easy for them to run around. Oh, so this is terrorism is happening in Nigeria. The Boko Haram, the Christians have been unalived. Like, so it seems to me that what they are claiming is that the that Boko Haram is it's sort of like all the Muslims in Africa or in Nigeria are rallying around Boko Haram, with an intention to wipe out all the Christians. But that is not the case. That is not the case. It's far from the case. So this is very important, guys. Do not forget that these guys have been bleeding and milking Africa since time immemorial. Colonialism, slavery, with the advent of the Industrial Revolution and what they wanted from Africa, nothing has really changed in reality. What these guys want from us is our resources. What they want from us is it's our resources, basically. If you look at Europe today, they don't have anything anymore. And we are seeing real efforts by some countries in Africa to kick out the French. Another game they are playing again is democracy, rule of law, and all this bullshit. Yeah, I don't see them insisting on the rule of law with the Israelis pounding Gaza, because they say, well, Israel have an intention to root out terrorism. That Israel's intention is to push back Hamas, and they are doing that by bombing the entire population, bombing the entire infrastructure there, with an intention, quote unquote, by Israel to neutralize the militants. Even though the militants are hiding with it. But when it comes to Nigeria, the army cannot dare hit the terrorists, because if we do that, we are violating the human rights of the terrorists. And I'm going to play a video for you guys to listen to. And now this video is, I don't know, about 5 minutes long. So it's about one of the contracting, because the Nigerian army as well, if you look at it as a whole, there are some elements within the army that have been bought over and corrupt by these international actors that have an intention to prolong the war, that have an intention to destroy the country. So if you don't have people that are patriotic enough to say, no, this is not acceptable, then it's going to be extremely difficult. So this is the situation we have found ourselves in Nigeria. So like I said, I'm going to show you guys the video. It's about 5 minutes long. And so you can see what really happened and the politics that is being played, by the way, because these contractors were brought in from the outside because the government of Jonathan at that time had enough. He couldn't trust the army anymore. There were, cases of, what is really going on. Is the army corrupt? Some of the contracts that they had to purchase weapons, we're not really seeing it. And so it was an international scandal. So what Jonathan decided to do was to bring some of these guys from South Africa. And when he brought them, so the guy's name is Eben Barlow. I'm going to play the video for you guys to hear. So when they brought them from South Africa, they started having like success, because these are mercenaries. These are private contractors. They are not allegiance to anybody. They don't really care. So when they came in, and this was the transitional period between when Jonathan lost the election and President Buhari came to power. Instructions came from the US to the newly elected president to stop attacking the terrorists. This is crazy. And by the way, the reason why people in the West don't understand this is because the media is deliberately silencing it. They don't want, they have no intention of allowing the people to know. And this is what is going on. So guys, I want you to watch the video. Watch the video and see what is going on in Nigeria. Let's listen to this.
Would you walk us through the Boko Haram offensive?
Boko Haram offensive was really not part of executive outcomes. That was STEP International that actually partook in that offensive. I need to first of all make it very clear that we were a subcontractor. there was a prime contractor appointed that appointed us as a subcontractor. Our initial aim was not Boko Haram per se, but it was to rescue the Chibok girls. They were the girls that had been kidnapped, and where the Western response was #SaveTheGirls. That type of nonsense does not save girls. Unfortunately, these girls became victims of a situation where the security had broken down in a specific area. They were kidnapped, and that was the first mission, rescue the Chibok girls. We then did a selection process of the Nigerian soldiers. The soldiers we retained after the selection process were then trained in a very specific way to conduct a hostage rescue operation, and that requires a very specific type of person. However, approximately 5 or 6 weeks into the training of the hostage rescue team, we were asked to change our mission, and that mission was to go to a town called Maiduguri in northeast Nigeria that had come under severe threat of Boko Haram. We then rapidly had to transition what we were doing and suddenly train a very offensive force with a minimum of equipment, and we rushed to Maiduguri. We met with the 7th Infantry Division commander. We finally understood the pressures he was under, and our suggestion was to him that this force we had trained, which we named the 72nd Mobile Strike Force, would actually spearhead the division. And that is precisely what we did. The operation was in 3 phases. The first phase was to actually cut a dividing line across northeastern Nigeria and isolate Boko Haram into 2 defined areas, and then mop up one area in the south was the start, and after that was done, mop up in the north. The division would follow behind, occupy terrain. We would train the division in situ in defensive positions, etc., but we were never allowed to execute the entire operation. So in 1 month, we took back terrain larger than Belgium from Boko Haram. We were not allowed to finish because it came at a time when governments were in the process of changing. I think President Jonathan's government possibly saw the entire Boko Haram contract, if we call it that, almost as a last gasp in order to regain popularity. The incoming president, President Buhari, was heavily supported by a foreign government, and one of the first missions was to terminate our contract.
Could you name that foreign government?
Yes, we were told it was the United States, and they had actually funded President Buhari's campaign. The campaign manager for President Buhari came from the US, and I'm not saying that the United States is bad. I understand foreign interests, but I would have thought that a threat such as Boko Haram on the integrity of the state
Did you hear that?
ought to be actually a
It's
priority.
not saying it's bad.
It wasn't.
Why do you think the US would intervene to abort such operation?
Again, I can't answer that. I think that the US can answer, but what I've come to realize that is when a government's foreign interests clash with the state's own domestic interests, conflict is bound to ensue. And those conflicts usually just continue with no end. And we can look at all the conflicts in Africa where foreign forces have come in, they've prolonged those conflicts, they haven't ended those conflicts. And the amount of money and manpower and equipment thrown at those conflicts says to me that something is wrong if no end result is achieved. And surely that end result should be to end the conflict and establish a basis for negotiations, come to an agreement, and then re-establish governance. But that's not what's happening in Africa.
How much did you charge the Nigerian government?
Well, first of all, we didn't charge the Nigerian government. And I think here that is a question the Nigerian government can answer. We were one subcontractor. So in other words, the Nigerian government appointed a contractor, and we contracted to that contractor as their subcontractor. So I think that's all I'll say. If you're really interested in the figures, that's for the Nigerian government to discuss.
So basically, this is Eben Barlow. They have a private military contracting firm in South Africa, because the Nigerian army, there was a lot of complications, there was a lot of accusation and allegations about corruption, could not do the job. And it was a period leading up to election in 2015. So what the Nigerian government did at that time under Goodluck Jonathan was to bring in private military contractors from South Africa. And they took back, if you listen to him, he said, we took back an area larger than Belgium from Boko Haram. And then after the election, Jonathan lost the election. Buhari came to power and told them to abort the operation and to pack their bags and leave. And then why would you abort the operation? The instructions came from America that those guys were violating the human rights of Boko Haram. So the instructions directly came from America. And you guys can hear, his name is Eben Barlow, that there's a need to stop the operation because they are violating the human rights of the terrorists. This is exactly what the US is doing in Africa. And this is why we have to be extremely careful. No, this is not the first time, this is not the second time. We have seen this over and over again. And it's easy for some guy in Florida, sit down, smoke his weed, to think that he knows anything about Africa and say, oh, well, they're carrying out a genocide against the Christians. Well, the United States of America, the Congress testified to the hearing of the world that USAID, some money for the USAID was being channeled towards funding terror. Welcome back, guys. My internet. Welcome back. I'm sorry, guys. My internet has been unstable, but I'm sure it's fixed now. Is it fixed now? Yeah, I'm sure it's better now. Thank you so much for those of you that stayed back. Despite the fact that my internet went haywire, some of you stayed back, and that's awesome. I thought my phone was hacked. No, 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 no. It's not my phone. Like if the internet um goes bad, this is what happens. Internet goes bad with my phone. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thought my phone was hacked. Now, if you guys want, I can play the video again. If you guys want, I can play the video again for you guys to see. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Starlink hasn't bribed the Nigerian government. I don't know about that. Yeah, is there anything you specifically want to know about Starlink and what they did to the Nigerian government? I'm not really sure about, you know, what your position is on Starlink and the Nigerian government. Maybe you want to give us some information about Starlink. Maybe you have some information about Starlink that you intend to give us. Well, there's this video also making the rounds circulating. They are buying governments in Africa. Well, I don't know about that. We have 7 people. Let's get the likes to 10K. Lesotho, Somalia. Yeah. Joke, no joke. I don't know about that, to be honest. Maybe I'll need some source on that information. Maybe we'll find out exactly what is happening. Thank you for joining. Joke, no joke. Debatable, what's up? Yeah, thank you for joining. Yeah, I wanted to show you guys this other video I have. So this video is from and I downloaded it, but I can't find it here. Okay, this is the president of Colombia calling out the US. This is the Colombian president basically calling out America for bullshit. Arawak. Let's listen to this. This is the Colombian president calling out the hypocrites in Washington for their bullshit. Why is the sound not working? Why on earth is the sound not working? Can you guys hear the sound? I don't think the sound is playing, to be honest. Is the sound working? Can you guys hear me? I don't know, man. Indonesia too. No, just you. It's not working for me, but is it working for you guys? No. I think it's a problem. I'm trying to. Okay, I don't think it's showing. So I was actually trying to play a video. I was actually trying to play a video and it didn't actually work, but it is what it is. Welcome back, welcome back. Joke, no joke. Everything is about oil for the United States. Everything is absolutely about oil, oil, oil. Yeah. What's up, debatable? What happened to Mana? Anytime my internet freeze, Mana run away. Mana doesn't stay for 2 seconds. Mana runs away when there's no action. She doesn't stay. Anyways, let's see. I was trying to show something. Yeah. Mana doesn't have time. Which is okay, but pero thanks debatable. Well, you never go on the panel. Why? Why don't you ever go on the panel? Who are vocal and populist in their defense? Yeah, me too. I don't trust certain leaders who are, very loud. But I like the Colombian leader. I think at least he has the balls to call the nonsense out. He sees what is happening and is calling it out. You see exactly what is happening and he's calling it out for bullshit.
Would you walk us through the Boko Haram offensive?
Boko Haram offensive was really not part of executive outcomes. That was STEP International that actually partook in that offensive. I need to first of all make it very clear that we were a subcontractor. There was a prime contractor appointed that appointed us as a subcontractor. Our initial aim was not Boko Haram per se, but it was to rescue the Chibok girls. They were the girls that had been kidnapped, and where the Western response was #SaveTheGirls. That type of nonsense does not save girls. Unfortunately, these girls became victims of a situation where the security had broken down in a specific area. They were kidnapped, and that was the first mission, rescue the Chibok girls. We then did a selection process of the Nigerian soldiers. The soldiers we retained after the selection process were then trained in a very specific way to conduct a hostage rescue operation, and that requires a very specific type of person. However, approximately 5 or 6 weeks into the training of the hostage rescue team, we were asked to change our mission, and that mission was to go to a town called Maiduguri in northeast Nigeria that had come under severe threat of Boko Haram. We then rapidly had to transition what we were doing and suddenly train a very offensive force with a minimum of equipment, and we rushed to Maiduguri. We met with the 7th Infantry Division commander. We finally understood the pressures he was under, and our suggestion was to him that this force we had trained, which we named the 72nd Mobile Strike Force, would actually spearhead the division. And that is precisely what we did. The operation was in 3 phases. The first phase was to actually cut a dividing line across northeastern Nigeria and isolate Boko Haram into 2 defined areas, and then mop up one area in the south was the start, and after that was done, mop up in the north. The division would follow behind, occupy terrain. We would train the division in situ in defensive positions, etc., but we were never allowed to execute the entire operation. So in 1 month, we took back terrain larger than Belgium from Boko Haram. We were not allowed to finish because it came at a time when governments were in the process of changing. I think President Jonathan's government possibly saw the entire Boko Haram contract, if we call it that, almost as a last gasp in order to regain popularity. The incoming president, President Buhari, was heavily supported by a foreign government, and one of the first missions was to terminate our contract.
Could you name that foreign government?
Yes, we were told it was the United States, and they had actually funded President Buhari's campaign. The campaign manager for President Buhari came from the US, and I'm not saying that the United States is bad. I understand foreign interests, but I would have thought that a threat such as Boko Haram on the integrity of the state of Nigeria ought to be actually a priority. It wasn't.
Why do you think the US would intervene to abort such operation?
Again, I can't answer that. I think that the US can answer, but what I've come to realize that is when a government's foreign interests clash with the state's own domestic interests, conflict is bound to ensue, and those conflicts usually just continue with no end. And we can look at all the conflicts in Africa where foreign forces have come in, they've prolonged those conflicts, they haven't ended those conflicts. And the amount of money and manpower and equipment thrown at those conflicts says to me that something is wrong if no end result is achieved. And surely that end result should be to end the conflict and establish a basis for negotiations, come to an agreement, and then re-establish governance. But that's not what's happening in Africa.
How much did you charge the Nigerian government?
Well, first of all, we didn't charge the Nigerian government. And I think here that is a question the Nigerian government can answer. We were one subcontractor. So in other words, the Nigerian government appointed a contractor, and we contracted to that contractor as their subcontractor. So I think that's all I'll say. If you're really interested in the figures, that's for the Nigerian government to discuss.
So basically, again, I'm playing this on loop. If you listen to the whole stuff, I kind of made it faster because of any flagging it for copyright and stuff like that. So basically, this is Eben Balo. He owns a military contract. And by the way, these guys have worked in Congo, they have worked in other places. These are private contracting firms that they take to conflict areas. And in some cases, they have like fantastic results. So they brought them to Nigeria. Goodluck Jonathan, the president at that time in 2013 or 14, brought them in. They had amazing and outstanding results. And after Jonathan lost the election in 2015, the new president, President Buhari, told them they have to pack their bags and leave. And this was in between, like in the middle of their contract. They canceled the contract and asked them to leave. Why? Instructions came from the United States. And if you listen to him, that's what he said. Instructions came from America. So why would the US intervene to abort such operation? Interest. What is the interest in supporting people you already call terrorists? These guys are terrorists. Everybody knows that. What is your interest in stopping an operation to root them out? Why? Gallium, tantalum, rare earth minerals in the Lake Chad area. This is what you're after. So again, some of you are like, I'm saying, cut me that crap. But I'm glad I'm going to go to the Northeast to report most of these things, community to community, and ask questions. What is really going on? I'll be going to some of the refugee camps. I'll be going to those places for you guys to see exactly what is going on in Nigeria. You know, enough is enough. And some of them sit down and write articles. You know, the Washington Post, the New York Times. They have contacts with some people in government, but the reality is not being told. The reality is not being exposed for the world to see. In whose interest it is to keep this fighting going on. And if you listen to the whole interview with Eben Barlow, he said, yes, the UN, whether it's the United States, some of these NGOs, how do they make their profits when conflict, anytime there's conflict? So, and if you listen to what the Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa, said in the forum in Dubai, you know, I wish I can show you guys, play the video for you guys to see that I don't get some, you know, violation or whatever, because I don't know how long I'll be able or allowed to play this video. I'll try to play it for you guys to see. So he was basically saying, in whose interest is it to prolong this conflict? In whose interest? You know, we need to ask ourselves the question, whose interest is it to prolong this conflict? That some of these NGO guys will come and pay for accommodation in those areas, like, or close to the areas, like they'll go to Maiduguri, which is the capital city where the security situation is better, and pay for accommodation for 3 years. Now, why would you pay for 3 years? Is your intention to prolong the conflict for 3, 4, 5, 6 years? Some of them pay for expensive accommodations for 5 years. It's because they know very well that they want the conflict to go on. And this is the situation. And then they bring in some of their supplies. They go to the Northeast. They don't allow the government to have oversight functions. They don't want the government to have any sort of oversight functions over what they are doing. And this needs to be called out flat. This is the reality. We need to call it out for what it is. Enough is enough. Yes. I don't know what's wrong with my account. The account is struggling. If I use the other account, the algorithm automatically pushes it. But this one is crazy, and this is my main account. So I'll try and keep trying. Maybe one day the algorithm will figure it. I have another one that's like on 16K followers. If I go live on that, the algorithm automatically push it. But with this one, it's sort of different. But I'll keep pushing. So I'm trying to see if there's any way I can play this video without any issues. I'd love that.
Socio-economic development refers to.
So thank you for sharing the live stream.
15, 16 years are still counting. The challenges we're having is.
So I'm trying to see whether I can play this video. I'd love to play this video. A lot of things that were exposed and spoken about in this conversation with General Musa, it's eye-opening. Some of the communities and, you know,
will not want to give us weapons and equipment. And that's why I mentioned the first time we're having issues getting weapons because we're denied equipment. So
yes,
for me, a friend in need is a friend indeed. If my friend turns,
yeah, exactly.
Like somebody said, if you told somebody he's stupid.
Yeah.
that in this way, the local population will stop collaborating with non-state actors. Accordingly, it will require an integrated approach that involves...
The point is, sir, what is it talking about? It's very important,
civil
yes.
society organizations, the media, faith-based organizations, and all other members of the wider society to surmount. What we did in the Northeast is we got market women, traditional rulers, that overstretches the security agency situation in contagious states, which has expressed the security in Nigeria that affects the optimal operations of.
Welcome.
It is being threatened.
Let's power tap and share, guys. We need to at least get to like 10,000 likes. And China, danke. If the account is shut down, share. Yeah, the shares help. The likes help. And what do you call it? Yeah, especially the likes and the shares and the engagement in terms of like people commenting goes along with the comments, because the likes are like, but the comments, the question asking, the back and forth. If they can, yeah, Menas, thank you so much for joining. So I'll try to play the video again for you guys to see. But this is the situation, right? And if I can, I'd love to show you guys the map of the Northeast as I explain the situation. By the way, this crisis started, the first time it started was during what they call the Metisine crisis, I think in the 80s. With the Metisine crisis, it was a protest of some sort that happened in the state called Kano State, which is in the northwestern part of Nigeria. Kano is in the northwest. And so let me see whether I can show you guys the map of Nigeria, because it's easy for you to see it on the map and understand. Okay, let's do this. Put the cursor. What's up, Kadeni? How you doing? Welcome to the live stream. Hope you're doing good. It's been a while. Thank you. I'm trying to see. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, guys, see how we slid from A3 straight to almost B2 now. Yeah, TikTok is not being fair to me. Thank you so much. Yes, this popular, I think it helps as well. That's what I was told. Okay, I think this is going to help. Let's see. Give me a second. US, France, Belgium. Metoka, you can come up now. Metoka. Okay, I can is to it. All right, let's see. You guys ready? Okay, so basically I'll be showing you this map and explaining a few things to you. Okay, so this is the map of Nigeria. If you look at it, this is the map of Nigeria. This is what the map of Nigeria looks like. Abuja is the capital city of Nigeria. And if you go down, this is the Gulf of Guinea and this is the Atlantic Ocean. Now, West Africa is very important for certain reasons. If you look at the coast of West Africa, countries like all the way, this area, very, very important. Gambia, Guinea, Bissau, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. All of us were on this corridor called the Gulf of Guinea. So the West needs this as an access because in terms of supplies, in terms of having a foothold, in West Africa, the Gulf of Guinea is important. And look at the place that Nigeria occupies, very strategic, Nigeria and Cameroon. These places have abundance of resources, oil in particular, natural gas, and so on and so forth. So they want access in the south, but the issue as well is in the center where you have rare earth minerals. And I'm going to explain some things to you guys. Now, the fighting happening in Nigeria in terms of Boko Haram is happening around this area called the Lake Chad corridor. So this is the Lake Chad. This patch is the Lake Chad. I don't know whether you guys can see my cursor. This whole area is called the Lake Chad. This is Mongono, is the Borno state. Gambaru is the Borno. Most of the fighting is happening around this area because this is Maiduguri, the capital of Borno, by the way. So you see sometimes the militants will cross into this. This is Chad. They cross into Chad, or they go into Niger, or they go into this is Chad, and if you go down again, the Republic Centrafrique, but this is Cameroon. So this corridor have Cameroon, Chad, northeastern Nigeria, and some of them even slid in and out of Chad and go to Central Africa. I know a lot of there's this guy that lead one of the militias in Central Africa. His name is General Ali Darasa. That's what they call him, General Ali Darasa. Colonel Ali Darasa. Ali Darasa is actually a Fulani from Nigeria. How did he end up in Central African Republic? So these are people that are committing transnational crime, moving in and out of one location to another, and this is what has been happening. So for those of you just joining, like I said, you're welcome. Let's keep tapping and sharing. Yeah. Another thing I found out again is that because the model of most of my live streams lately have been about people coming on the panel and exercising and like flexing their energy. Anytime that doesn't happen, they come in and peep and peep. It doesn't happen, they skedaddle and wait until the fighting starts. When I do these live streams regularly, I'm going to get a different kind of audience that are more akin to listening than akin to drama and akin to people going on the panel and exercising themselves. Ooh, what's up, Watisoni? Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. So this is basically what is going on. It's on this corridor, and this Lake Chad is blessed with abundance of resources. Okay, this is Lake Chad. So this is the whole Lake Chad area. I want you to look at this area. They call this corridor, it is blessed with abundance of resources, and this is what they want. You see, Nigeria is sharing it with Chad. This is Chad. This is Niger. This is Chad, Niger, on the other hand. And then you have Cameroon. So this is what they want. If you remember what happened recently with Niger, Niger is a part of what they call the G5 Sahel. These are a group of Sahelian countries that formed an alliance in order to root out terrorism. But if you look at what is really happening, France controls the operational mechanisms and whatever of the G5 Sahel. Until recently, they say, no, we are done with the French, we kick them out. So any sort of a security architecture that is still going to involve the French or the Americans, these are the same guys getting intelligence and information and passing it to these criminals. Okay? So the role of these countries in Africa is to continue to perpetuate violence and terror and chaos, supporting subversive elements that have a clear intention of undermining the integrity of the state, undermining the sovereignty of the state for their own political and economic benefits. So this is what it's about. And for those of us in Africa, we want all this nonsense to stop. The violence, the bloodbath, the bloodshed, all of it does not benefit any African country. It doesn't benefit us in Africa, but it benefits the West because they're staying far away from the epicenter, and they can load us with arms and say, oh, you take up the arms and unalive each other, take up the arms and do X, Y, Z, it's none of our business. They are working tirelessly to try and take out Ibrahim Traore. Well, that's what I heard as well. Stop lying, boring. Okay. Stop lying. You don't even know what I'm talking about. You're clueless. You're just, you only know how to do drama. And you and all your friends, that's the only thing you feed off from. Drama, drama, drama. I don't think you even know what I'm talking about. You have no idea. Anyways, I'm trying to show that video for you guys to see. If the video is able to be I'm able to upload it. I'll show you guys in a second. So let's keep liking and sharing, guys. Meanwhile, while you're listening, I'm going to play you the video again from Eben Balo for you guys to listen to. Thank you for those of you tapping and sharing. I appreciate it. I'm not worried about the numbers to come. I'm not worried at all. Okay, but they are working tirelessly to try and take out Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim Traore is just one person. Yes. And they are doing exactly the same thing in the Americas, right? They are doing exactly the same thing, trying to remove Maduro. I'm going to play you this video. This is from the president of Colombia and what he said about America's intention.
Pero al enfrentar el tema en el Mar Caribe que nada tiene que ver con el fentanilo que los Estados Unidos está produciendo, es que lo que quiere es el petróleo de Venezuela y de Guyana. La codicia petrolera es la que está detrás de la estrategia que está tirando misiles sobre pescadores. Hay pescadores de la isla de Trinidad y Tobago que murieron bajo un misil. El video de una lancha que no estaba surcando el mar, sino que tenía los motores levantados y por tanto quieto, al cual le cayó un misil. Todavía no sabemos exactamente el punto. Ya pescadores jóvenes que salieron de sus casas en Santa Marta y no han vuelto. Aún no es tiempo de decir lo definitivo, pero nos preocupa que sus familiares están llamando. Les pido a todos los familiares en donde sus hijos o maridos no estén retornando de manera extraña a casas en donde existan puertos, que avisen inmediatamente a las autoridades y veremos qué ha pasado con ellos. Porque si lo que está sucediendo es que alguno de los colombianos haya muerto bajo los misiles, le pedí a todos los abogados de derechos humanos que hoy les pedimos disculpas porque el Estado colombiano los asesinó y persiguió en las pasadas décadas, que nos ayuden a establecer a escala internacional y nacional las demandas y denuncias si colombianos han sido asesinados por los misiles. Colombia aprobó la resolución que toda política de drogas se debe sujetar a derechos humanos. El general almirante Alvin, del Comando Sur, jefe del Comando Sur de los Estados Unidos, ha renunciado. Me quito el sombrero de civil, almirante. Usted renunció porque no quiere ser cómplice de una violación.
María Machado.
Bienvenido. Nosotros queremos lo mismo. Puede usarse las armas de ningún ejército del mundo contra la humanidad. Dije en las calles de Nueva York, lo repito en este programa. Menos tampoco en el Mar Caribe. Y menos contra colombianos y colombianas, pescadores inocentes. Le solicito al presidente Trump contener su codicia petrolera, pensar en la humanidad, pensar en la eficacia de una América grande. Una América grande es una América en donde los pueblos que habitan las Américas, desde Alaska hasta la Patagonia, sin exclusión, dialogan sobre sus problemas comunes, porque dialogando y con argumentos podemos superar los problemas. Pero al enfrentar el tema en el Mar Caribe que nada tiene que ver con el fentanilo que los Estados Unidos está produciendo, es que lo que quiere es el petróleo de Venezuela y de Guyana. La codicia petrolera es la que está detrás de la estrategia que está tirando misiles sobre pescadores. Hay pescadores de la isla de Trinidad y Tobago que murieron bajo un misil. El video de una lancha que no estaba surcando el mar, sino que tenía los motores levantados y por tanto quieto, al cual le cayó un misil. Todavía no sabemos exactamente el punto. Ya pescadores jóvenes que salieron de sus casas en Santa Marta y no han vuelto. Aún no es tiempo de decir lo definitivo, pero nos preocupa que sus familiares están llamando. Les pido a todos los familiares en donde sus hijos o maridos no estén retornando de manera extraña a casas en donde existan puertos. Avisen inmediatamente a las autoridades y veremos qué ha pasado con ellos. Porque si lo que está sucediendo es que alguno de los colombianos haya muerto bajo los misiles, le pedí a todos los abogados de derechos humanos que hoy les pedimos disculpas porque el Estado colombiano los asesinó y persiguió en las pasadas décadas, que nos ayuden a establecer a escala internacional y nacional las demandas y denuncias si colombianos han sido asesinados por los misiles. Colombia aprobó la resolución que toda política de drogas se debe sujetar a derechos humanos. El general almirante Alvin, del Comando Sur, jefe del Comando Sur de los
Austin
Estados Unidos,
Alvin.
ha renunciado. Me quito el sombrero de civil, almirante. Si usted renunció porque no quiere ser cómplice de una violación, de un crimen de guerra, bienvenido. Nosotros queremos lo mismo. Puede usarse las armas de ningún ejército del mundo contra la humanidad. Dije en las calles de Nueva York, lo repito en este programa. Menos tampoco en el Mar Caribe. Y menos contra colombianos y colombianas, pescadores inocentes. Le solicito al presidente Trump contener su codicia petrolera, pensar en la humanidad, pensar en la eficacia de una América grande. Una América grande es una América en donde los pueblos que habitan las Américas, desde Alaska hasta la Patagonia, sin exclusión, dialogan sobre sus problemas comunes, porque dialogando y con argumentos podemos superar los problemas. Pero al enfrentar el tema en el Mar Caribe, que nada tiene que ver con el fentanilo que los Estados Unidos está produciendo, es que lo que quiere es el petróleo de Venezuela.
Yeah, did you guys hear what he said? Like, basically, he's calling on the international community. But what exactly is the international community going to do with Trump? Is the idea that the international community or the UN is going to do anything to the Americas is ludicrous. The US don't care about international law. And the whole idea of say, oh, we're coming in because we want to knock them out and the fentanyl and whatever they're doing is why they were knocking out boats, fishing boats, basically knocking them out, say they're carrying fentanyl to America, to use that as a precursor, as an excuse to invade Venezuela, to get concession from them. And you're right, they're trying to bring in the Maria Machado, which is I had to sign some kind of agreement with the Likud and Netanyahu. These guys are crazy. So it's not just America, it's also Israel involved in trying to bring Maria Machado to power. And whatever these guys are doing in Americas, they will do to us. Who are the guys that are peddling this and are trying to, even in with the whole stuff with Gaza, in an attempt to build a beachfront property? I saw, if you remember, when Trump was appointing his cabinet, they said, oh, we don't want, people were saying, oh, they're trying to put, what's his name, the son-in-law, Jared Kushner aside. The guy is the main guy running the Middle East policies. But they have a special envoy, Steve Witkoff, they have the Israeli ambassador, American ambassador to Israel, and all that stuff. But the main guy that Trump trusts with most of the delicate decision making is Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, who's a Jewish guy. This is the guy that has been advocating that for the removal of Palestinians from Gaza so they can build this beachfront property. That is still, the plan is still there. And, you know, people are talking about voluntary withdrawal or, you know, them to voluntarily live there. They might build some sort of residential areas for them. I mean, 2 million people, they might take one side of Gaza and give them and first cram them up in that place and build, you know, these so-called beachfront properties in another area where they will secure. So this is the plan they are trying to do. And this America is now going to get involved in the rebuilding of Gaza through Donald Trump and his people, particularly Jared Kushner. So it's a money-making venture for them. So I'm in Trinidad and can tell you war is coming out to our region. US has already said yes. And Trump is even saying himself that the CIA is there. There's this story like that I saw about the Second World War, that with Operation Barbarossa, so the Germans made it very clear that they were coming on the 22nd of June 1943. 1943 or 1942. They made it very clear. So the Russians thought they were joking. Like, they didn't think they were joking, but the leader of so the Soviet Union at that time, Joseph Stalin, was not interested in fighting. It's like, so some of his army chiefs like Zhukov and Vatutin and Timoshenko were urging him to mobilize and prepare. He said, well, why do you want to mobilize? Because if we mobilize, we are going to provoke them the more to attack us. So basically, this is the situation in the Caribbean. And Trump is telling them, I'm going to come. The CIA is already on the ground, making it blatantly clear. And a lot of Americans are not even paying attention to it. A lot of them actually think it's the narco war. And the level of the lack of depth of the lack of understanding, the outright sheer ignorance in America. People keep talking about social media. This guy's still consuming CBC and CNN and all these, media organizations that is distorted. Information is distorted. It's largely controlled by the same people. They put out. They only tell you what you need to know. These are the same people that have these oil companies. These are the same people that. What exactly are they looking for in Venezuela and Guyana? They want to control their oil fields. And Maria Machado herself said, I think on Fox News, that they're able to kick out, that if they're able to kick out Maduro and bring her to power, that she's going to first thing is to privatize the oil companies and the oil assets. Privatization. So that tells us everything we need to know. That the U.S. is so interested in going to Venezuela, kicking out the president Nicolas Maduro, bringing in this lady called Maria Machado, which is very clear. It's evident to us that this lady has ties with people in Washington and in Jerusalem, in Israel. How did she even win the Nobel Peace Prize? We need to ask ourselves questions. So they are preparing her to take the stage. We saw the same thing with Aung San Suu Kyi, with what happened in Myanmar at that time. But Venezuela is weaker than Myanmar. Venezuela is not as strong and is very close to home, meaning it's very close to the United States. With Myanmar, America could not have deployed expeditionary forces to go there and fight because there will be a cost. There will be a heavy cost if they did that. So it's all they are doing is about control, it's about power. Most importantly, it's about the interests of the multinationals. The MNC, they call them, multinational corporations. These are the guys that are bleeding the rest of the world for their own benefit. 9 warships in the Caribbean Sea and 1 nuclear sub, 3 F-35s in Guyana, 10 in Puerto Rico. So you're saying that Guyana is partaking in this, that Guyana is enabling this, that Guyana wants to be on the side of America because they want interest. They want America to seize oil fields from Venezuela and give to them. But what they don't understand is that they're dancing with the enemy. And whatever America is doing to Colombia today, or doing to Venezuela today, they'll do to them tomorrow. And they want to remain perpetual slaves forever. And the leadership there is saying, oh, it's all about interest. It's all about this and that. The fact that they are cooperating with the Americans in order to do this to another country tells me about the selfishness of these leaders. And this is the brutal nature of international politics. This is the brutal nature of international politics. Mamo 680, welcome. Gatsheni. So my question is, why is Guyana doing this to their neighbor? Why is Guyana interested in collaborating with the United States of America? US is using nations as Guyana, Ecuador, Trinidad, Argentina to provoke Venezuela. Yes. Yes. And I mean, we see their faces. They're not hiding. All of them, we see their faces. They are not hiding at all. They are making it very clear what their intention is. And they are working with America. They are clearly working with the United States of America in order to undermine the security and sovereignty of their neighbors. And how long would this continue? We have to be very careful. It might be them today. It could be another person tomorrow. Let's see. Okay. It might be them today. It could be another person tomorrow. Saman Mondiego, thank you, Appel. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to share the live stream as well. Let's go. Tina, what's going on? So I was showing you guys this. Let's see. I thought I was showing this before. How did it disappear? So Guyana, I think Guyana is an English-speaking country. It's a former colony of the British. Speak English in Guyana. I think it's one of the few countries in America that speak English. It's an English-speaking country in the Americas. Yes. Samar Mondiego. Danke. Why? Tell them that is one. So when you come here, all right. I think it's better like this. Maria Machado. There's the one. Okay, I'm trying to do something real quick. Holy shit. How did we end up here? Yay! Can you guys see this? I'm trying to highlight it so you can see clearly. Yeah, it's better. It's better now. So if you can see this, let's go. By the way, most of these videos, I'll be posting it on my Patreon. So for those of you that are not on my Patreon yet, there are different tiers on my Patreon, starting from $5 a month. This is how you can support my project and whatever I'm doing. From $5 a month upward, go on my Patreon, join it. At the end of every section, I'll be posting the videos on YouTube, and you can find them. I'll be posting the video, on my Patreon. So with $5 a month, you're going to have access to this. Just go on my Patreon and you'll see it. Don't forget to do that. Thank you guys. Also, the gas field between Trinidad and Venezuela, where US wants total control. Wow, that's another interesting one. So it's called the Dragon gas field. What's up, Abu Keza? So let me show you this one. So okay, why? So you're referring to this one, right? This is the gas field you're referring to, but this is deep inside Venezuela, right? You're referring to this. So this is Aruba, Curacao. These are some of the islands. So where is Guyana? Let's see, where the hell is Guyana? It's an inconsequential country. This is Guyana. On the other arm of Guyana. So are you referring to this oil, this place? Lago de Maracaibo. Venezuela is an important place. You see, all the mineral deposits here. This is what they want access to. It's not just about the oil. This is Trump trying to benefit. It's something he's trying to when these leaders come to power, they make changes that last for 100 years. So he's trying to put his people in place with the oil contracts and all of this for another 100 years. And this is why, to him, if he's going to unalive 500,000 people, 600,000 people, 2 million people to make those structural changes and force it on the people of Venezuela, he's going to do it. And these guys are doing it, stating clearly to the rest of the world that this is about democracy and human rights. This is the saddest part of it, right? They do it in front of your face, and they think we are stupid, right? They do it and think we are stupid, like, oh, it's about democracy and human rights. It's on the northern coast of Venezuela and Trinidad. Okay, so this is the area you're referring to, this place. This is the place you're referring to. This is the corridor you're probably referring to. This gap, there might be oil field in this gap. You're referring to this area, I suppose. This is the area you Gulf of Paria. This is the place you're probably referring to. And this is where I think American vessels are. This is where the main resource is coming from, and this is where they probably have parked their vessels. It's an interesting scenario. It's interesting. Thank you, Debatable. Welcome. Port of Spain is the capital, I think. Trinidad and Tobago. I thought you were referring to Guyana initially, not in the Gulf, in the north of that Caribbean Sea. So Islas de Margarita, Punta de Pedreas. I'll have to take a look at it anyway. So, Islas de Coche. Is this around that area? They have a lot of beautiful islands. Venezuela is a big country. A lot of people don't know that. Like, it's a very big country. There might be challenges across the countryside, but it's a very big country. It's a very big country that have like abundance of resources and a very large population. Them and Colombia are neighbors, and they keep like accusing Hugo Chavez at that time of supporting the FARC and all that stuff. So, Franco, General Francisco Franco, welcome. Guys, don't forget to join the team, guys. We have a live goal. Let's go. Not in the Gulf. So which part of the Gulf are you referring to? Yup, it's me. Montserrat. What island is Montserrat? Let's see. Guadalupe, Dominica. Some of these islands are very beautiful. But some of them are like very expensive. Barbados, very small. Grenada is small. Martinique, Antigua and Barbuda. People talk about the Barbuda Triangle. Yes, Guyana also, the Esequiel region is bordering Venezuela, and the US is already there, yes. Off the coast of North Trinidad and Venezuela. Yeah, I saw that, because those guys stealing islands and they're stealing territory from Venezuela, and the US came in to support them, because if the US support them, what they will simply do is to allow American companies to do all of that, which is insane. So, and this is why Trump is trying to force the hand of Venezuela. All of this is just crazy. It's criminality. It's crazy criminality. Dr. Aro. And it's easy for Maduro to easily say, okay, I acquiesce to American position, and they will not even tell him anything. So all this noise and drums they are beating about, oh, he's a dictator, he's not popular, it's this and that. It's all a load of nonsense. It's a load of nonsense. But they just don't trust him anymore to do the kind of reforms they want. So they want to destroy the country so they can build it themselves. If they destroy the country, everything is in their hands. They are the ones that will build it themselves. Thank you guys for joining. For those of you that are joining and stayed, this is a very interesting topic. We talked about Nigeria. We're talking about the US efforts in the Caribbean. It's an interesting topic. No crash outs, no shouting and screaming and entertainment. So yeah, sometimes I love to do these videos. And like I said, if you want to see and watch this video again, I'm going to post it. You want to watch this podcast, it's easy. Go to the link on my bio, and you can join starting from $5 a month. There are other tiers as well that you can subscribe to. I'm going to post the whole videos and videos that I do about specific topics like this on my Patreon. Go to the link on my bio, it's there. And for those of you that are also interested in supporting my travels around Nigeria to talk about the situation with Boko Haram, farmer header crisis, and a host of other issues, traveling and transversing across the northern part of Nigeria especially, you can, if you want to be a part of it, you can go to the link on my bio. It's easy. You can go and use the coffee link as well to support if you can. I appreciate that. Turks and Caicos Island, Haiti. This is Hispaniola, Antillas Mayores. So the Dominican Republic is big, man. It's bigger than Haiti by far. Thank you, Debatable. Thank you. I'm good. So good to see you live. Yeah, I'm live. I'm live, but I think once it's an hour 30 minutes, I'm going to switch to my phone. But I wanted to, and I'll always use this format because this format is very good, and I can easily post it on my YouTube for you guys to see. So like I said, you can also subscribe to my YouTube. It's the same name. Go on the same name you have there is the African Hawk. You can go on my YouTube and and joining there. Also, Kenyan forces are in Haiti, aiding the West. Yes, Kenyan forces are there. We're tired of him, William Ruto. He's initially when he came, he was like, "Oh, we don't like the West, yada yada yada." And then Biden and his people were able to convince him to send Kenyan troops to Haiti. Say, no, we're sending policemen. No, you're not. You sent Kenyan troops to Haiti to fight against the gangs, quote unquote. Yeah, I mean, how many Kenyan troops are going to go to Haiti? Are you going to send 10,000 troops, 5,000 troops, whatever the case is? It's making it extremely difficult. And they're sending them in. America have a lot of troops, but the US don't want to do it, so they will not be seen as outside. But America is the one that is bleeding Haiti, taking the resources from there and putting the people in penury and suffering to the point where they are picking up arms and going against each other. But Kenya is the one that is going to do the heavy lifting there to make Africa look bad. William Ruto doesn't care about this because, again, he wants to make friends in Washington. And I mean, Biden is gone, Trump is in power, and I don't even care about him anymore. The guy's a loony. He's lost his mind. And this is the classical nature of politics in Africa, when these leaders want to be loved by the West. These leaders in Africa wants to be loved by the West and seen by the West as fit to be in office. And this is why some of them are taking some of these right-wing radical positions or decisions for their own benefit. It has no direct benefit on the African people. And let's call it spade a spade. This is exactly what it is. To them it's about their interest and the interest of their family. And one other strategy that the hitman uses, the economic hitman uses, is they'll go and like these guys are corrupt. They have offshore accounts, and the West probably saying like, "Oh, if you don't do this for us, we know you stole X amount of money. We have videotapes of you and teenage girls, and we know the school that your children are in, Harvard and Oxford, and we have their home address. We're going to publish it. We are going to make a scandal in your country and eventually kick you out." So they create economic and political problems for you at home to push you to acquiesce to their position. So if you're not tough enough, if you don't have the charisma and the grit to be able to withstand the pressure from the outside, you acquiesce, you cave in. This is what most of them do. And it's not different from Kenya. We also see Nigeria have done that on numerous occasions. So it's not really about democracy. These guys don't really care. It's about power and it's about influence. And we need to call a spade a spade. By the way, at the end of this stream, I'm going to restart the stream and use the portrait format on my phone. So for those of you listening, don't forget to come back. Don't forget to come back. We're going to be having our regular panel and conversation, and people can come on the panel after that. Like I said, don't forget, for those of you that are interested in seeing my travels around Nigeria and supporting my little project that I'm doing, there's a coffee link on my bio that you can use. That's number one. Secondly, if you want to see this video again, I'm going to post it on my YouTube. The link is on my bio. Use the link tree on my bio. Everything is there. So basically, you can subscribe from my Patreon, starting from $5 a month, going upward. You can use the link on my bio for my Patreon. And but if you want to specifically support the travels in Nigeria in relations to going from community to community, assisting, helping, and amplifying the voices of the people in Nigeria, you can use the coffee link. Both of them are there. So just go to my and play around it. You see my other socials on my link tree. It's very important. So don't forget, because it's only a matter of time before Venezuela bombs Trinidad for helping the US. Yeah, that's an interesting point as well. Well, Wednesday even calendar, huge US military base there. Yeah, there's a massive US military base where Brave, welcome. Don't forget to like and share, guys. So like I said, I'm going to restart, and I'd love to repeat myself again, but just go to the link on my bio, and thank you so much, guys. Nico Singh, you can come back. I'm trying to use my device, my phone, to have a conversation so I can bring people up. So you can rejoin, okay?